Hello, dear audience. Welcome back to Sasha's YouTube story channel. Today's story is based on some bitter realities of life. As in today's chaotic world, we take money as everything, and in this selfish world, good doesn't take time to become bad. But in the end, everybody realizes what he has lost. Is money and wealth everything? You will know this from today's story, which is the story of two friends. Such friends who would do their share in good deeds. But how did their life change suddenly? Stay here till the end to find out this, and don't skip the story. But before to start, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, then do so, and if you enjoyed to listening and watching our content, then give this video a big thumbs up and hit the notification bell to never miss an upload. Now, let's start. Once upon a time, in the Wild West, there were two best friends named Mike and Jess. They were known throughout the town as the best bounty hunters in the region. They were always on the lookout for the next big score, and they lived for the thrill of the chase. One day, they received a tip about a notorious outlaw named Blackbird, who was hiding out in a nearby town. Blackbird had been on the run for months, and the bounty on his head was the largest one they had ever seen. Mike and Jess knew that this was their chance to make a name for themselves and to earn enough money to retire comfortably. They set out early the next morning, riding their horses through the rugged terrain of the west. The sun beat down on them relentlessly, and the dusty roads seemed to stretch on forever. But they were determined to catch Blackbird, no matter the cost. As they approached the town where Blackbird was hiding out, they noticed that something was off. The streets were eerily quiet and the buildings looked abandoned. They soon realized that they had stumbled upon a ghost town. But they didn't have time to ponder the strangeness of the situation. They knew that Blackbird was somewhere in the town, and they had to find him before he slipped away again. They cautiously made their way through the deserted streets, keeping their eyes peeled for any sign of movement. They finally came up upon an old salon, and they could hear the sounds of music and laughter coming from inside. Mike and Jess exchanged a glance and nodded to each other. They knew that they had found their target. They kicked open the salon doors and drew their guns. The music stopped abruptly, and everyone turned to face them. Mike and Jess spotted Blackbird at the back of the room, and they made their way towards him, guns at the ready. But as approached, they realized that Blackbird wasn't alone. He was flanked by a group of heavily armed men, all of them aiming their guns at Mike and Jess. The two bounty hunters knew that they were outnumbered and outgunned, But they didn't back down. They stood their ground, ready to fight to the death if necessary. The standoff lasted for what seemed like hours. The tension in the room was palpable, and the air was thick with the smell of gunpowder. Finally, Blackbird spoke up. "You boys are a couple of tough nuts to crack," he said, a sly grin spreading across his face. "I like that. Why don't we make a deal?" Mike and Jess were hesitant, but they listened as Blackbird explained his proposition. He wanted to team up with them and pull off the biggest heist in the history of the West. He had to plan a rope, a train that was carrying a shipment of gold from the mines. At first, Mike and Jess were skeptical but didn't trust Blackbird, and they didn't want to risk their reputations as law-abiding bounty hunters. But as they thought about it more, they realized that this could be their chance to retire rich and live out the rest of their lives in comfort. Before continuing the story, if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, then what are you waiting for? Do subscribe and hit the bell icon. And don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you are really liking our content. Okay, keep watching. They eventually agreed to the plan, and Blackbird introduced them to his gang. They spent the next few days preparing for the heist, gathering supplies and strategizing. The day of the heist arrived, and Mike and Jess felt a mix of excitement and nerves. They rode out to the train tracks, where they met up with Blackbird and his gang. The heist went off without a hitch. They managed to stop the train and overpower the guards, stealing the shipment of gold and making their escape. As they rode away from the scene, Mike and Jess couldn't believe what had just happened. They were now wanted outlaws, but they were also incredibly rich. They knew that couldn't stay in the region for long, so they decided to split up and lay low for a while. Mike headed north while Jess went south. They agreed to meet up in a few months in a town on a border of Mexico. Mike spent the next few weeks holed up in a cabin in the woods. He counted his share of the loot and marveled at how much money he had made. But he also couldn't shake the feeling of guilt. He had always prided himself on being a bounty hunter who brought criminals to justice, not a criminal himself. Jess, on the other hand, was living it up in a fancy hotel in the nearby town. He was gambling and drinking his way through his share of the loot, enjoying the finer things in life that he had always been denied. Months passed, and it was time for them to meet up in the agreed-upon town. Mike arrived first and waited for Jess to show up, but hours turned into days and Jess never appeared. Mike grew worried and started asking around town, trying to find out what had happened to his friend. It was not long before he had heard rumors of a shootout at a salon in a nearby town. He rode out to the salon, and sure enough, there was Jess' lifeless body lying on the ground. Mike was devastated. He had lost his best friend, and he knew that their lives would never be the same. Mike spent the next few years wandering the West, trying to come to terms with what had happened. He still worked as a bounty hunter, but he was no longer motivated by the thrill of the chase. Instead, he wanted to bring justice to the world and make up for his past mistakes. In the end, Mike realized that the real adventure wasn't about chasing after money or fame. It was about the journey itself and the relationships he had forged along the way. He would always carry the memory of Jess with him, and he knew that he had to honor his friend's memory by doing good in the world. So friends, this was today's story, and share it with your family and friends. And I will be eagerly waiting for your response. Did you like today's story? And what did you learn from it? Let me know down in the comment section. You can also suggest me the topics on which you would like to hear a story from me. Okay, take good care of yourself. I will meet you with another interesting and surprising story. And don't forget to subscribe, like and share. See ya!